Second. All right. We should be live on YouTube, and hopefully everyone can hear me and hear the guests. So why don't one of you guys say something, and hopefully the YouTube chat will let us know if they can hear me and if they can hear you guys, because we're on different audio streams. Thank you, Stephen. All right. Well, I hope everyone is doing okay. Sunday morning here for me, and got my second cup of coffee because the first I killed it in about 5 minutes. I had to go back and get a second one. This DT is in the left ear. Well, I can fix that. That's an easy problem. Let me make sure that my audio is now mono, and I bet you got me in both ears now. All right. Bloody Mary. I thought somebody was making a drink. Too early for a drink. Well, I guess, yeah, that's all right. Pour you a glass of wine. Enjoy yourself. Well, what's everybody been up to as far as Linux and technology? Anybody got anything interesting they want to share? I figured Big Pod had something with, yeah. Hold up. Nope, nobody can hear you. Pavu Control, what are you doing? Yeah.
Can you guys hear me now? Hopefully you can. If not, DT, check your sources if you have audio settings.
And back again.
DT, check your tracks in OBS. That's been my problem. I think you might find problem there.
Idiot. I've got my audio and your audio. The input's reversed. That's why. In OBS, I couldn't figure out why you're talking, but it's showing my mic moving. And then when I talk, it shows the desktop audio's moving. I think it should be working now.
Can you guys hear me now?
All right. Now we've got it. That is the magic of Pulse Audio. People say Pulse Audio is bad. You just have to hit the right settings in it.
Apparently now they can hear you. Set everything to track 1. Let's start with that.
Everything echoes. I could probably just quit OBS and restart, and it probably
no. You probably have something wrong in settings for OBS.
Yeah, you're boomy. I mean, you're loud again, so it's the way you started, which is fine.
Apparently everything is okay now. Everything is okay now, apparently. So now I'm going to talk about my microphone. This is it. I finally got myself into the proper audio setup. My old microphone, the one on these headphones, started to die. So I went and spent some money and bought myself this. It's a Shure SM58, one of the staples of microphones. One of the best microphones.
It's better
can
than what happened to mine.
Yeah. So it's one of the things I've been playing with this month. So getting it proper ready. Especially I wanted it because I'm gonna do some presentations on a more professional basis. So it's important to have a good audio. Work. No containers. It's gonna be at a conference. Yeah. Or at least hopefully. In the meantime, I'm gonna talk about the second thing I've been playing with this month, NixOS. And I just fell in love. NixOS is amazing and everything works, including my awfully complex setup for audio. I went the most awful way possible. I pipe my microphone audio into OBS, and from there I pipe it into wherever I need to go, whether it be Jitsi in a browser, whether it be Zoom, whether it be Discord. So I have OBS filters, which are the best. No matter if you're going software filtering, pipe wire filters don't hold a candle to OBS filtering. I have set up noise suppression with RN noise method, so it is a bit more taxing on the on my 12-core CPU, but it is really good. And if I'm silent for a bit, I bet you can hear my keyboard, sticky keyboard. I also have a compressor. It's as expander. It's expander preset, or that is expander. I have a compressor which is completely bass, no changes made, and an expander. So it does a bit of stuff, and it works. I don't recommend this setup to anyone else because it requires some syncs, and it's pretty time consuming to set up. DT, now we can hear you.
It also depends on the brand, doesn't it?
Yeah, but if he has direct connection, he probably either using a line in, or he's using what is it called, or using a USB interface like I am. And
I think he's using USB because it's on a laptop.
okay, so if he's using USB, that means it isn't supported. I would recommend him to pick up something that is and simply have a USB interface. Like I bought myself a Behringer Euphoria. This thing is amazing. It works plug and play. I just plugged it in and it works.
I
Just use Linux and stay on Linux.
yeah, I know. It's just I think 3 programs that I have on Windows that are important. Basically, this for Focusrite control for the mixer,
Even
iTunes
can hear
for
you.
the iPod, and actually that's it.
I needed it to run on Linux since this is what I use most of the time, especially for stuff like this. So I
I
couldn't just
remember. Yeah, I remember in the old days, I'd take and put 2 sound cards in my system, and I would feed one in, one out, and all that just to get stuff to work properly.
So
Yeah,
I
still.
asked around what USB audio interface works best, and a friend of mine told me Behringer Euphoria, go with that. And he gave me a specific model to input interface, works perfectly. I plugged it in, it's detected. I don't know what to say.
Is there such a thing as a USB to standard jack converter?
Yeah,
Definitely not.
No, no. It's not.
Okay.
First of all, you need.
yeah.
First of all, it shouldn't work because one USB audio interface does through USB gets power. Second, the data the digital data just can't convert between USB and jack. That doesn't make sense.
Yes, not directly, but you can convert it digitally. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a DAC. It's a USB.
Oh, okay.
yeah, DAC.
It
yeah,
has to have a DAC. to
that
I
convert
doesn't
have.
really make
I don't have it
sense.
with me, but I do have one. A USB
How would
to
that make
jack.
sense to even do? Just plug it into your
Big pod.
system.
Big pod. It's a USB. It has a small DAC converter at the end of it to where you connect
Yeah,
the jack.
I
But you cannot
understand
convert.
that.
You cannot convert
Why
directly
would you
from
do that?
USB to jack unless you have a DAC in between.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
If you have a device
But
that doesn't
why
have a
would you
jack,
do that?
if you have a device that doesn't have a jack port,
Of course, that's a normal thing. But I understood him. He wanted to convert USB to jack. That doesn't
Directly,
make
no.
sense.
It
Well, I
doesn't
just
make
didn't
sense
know if there was
directly.
one.
Why would you want to do that? Because, well, USB allows you a lot more control. I don't know why would you want to do that.
I'm old school because I'm old.
Well, I do have a converter the other way around to go like from
course.
my Raspberry Pi to Cinch, which is quite nice to stream. You could technically build this to pipe it through USB as well if you wanted to go to like stereo change, but directly onto jack would require some soldering probably.
Yeah.
Also, a problem with this kind of a thing to use USB to jack is that then only one of the inputs would work, and you wouldn't have any kind of monitoring or kind of
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
headphones. Because I can plug in headphones into the interface. Of course, it's using the big plug, the big jack, but I can plug in any kind of headphones that have that or adapter on that kind of a jack into it.
Yeah, I mean that's really nice if you need it for
Yeah.
direct monitoring if you record.
Or even to listen to audio if you want to have good audio.
We'll wait the given 20-second lag.
DT, what kind of in the advanced audio settings in OBS, on what track you are? Are you on track 1? Or on the same track as we? Put it on the same track.
That's what I did initially. Didn't work.
First of all, do that because otherwise it definitely won't work. Because as far as I know, OBS only transmits track 1 when streaming.
All right. Let's see. YouTube, can you hear me? Give me a yay or a nay.
We can hear you.
Well, you guys will always hear me now.
That works, they say.
All right.
Some say no, some say yes.
No, I think they got it now.
Yeah.
Hello, can you also hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Yep,
Alright,
we got
yeah.
you.
So it was the old method of unplug it, replug it.
I just made sure, yes, we can hear you on YouTube.
All right. Well, that only took us about 20 minutes to get the stream started this time.
Hey, no,
Next
this is
time,
gonna work,
I
Carl.
won't even mention that stuff.
Yeah.
We'll
Well, I've
never
told
talk
you
about
guys,
audio settings again.
I've thought about, stop doing these streams because I know they're bad content. I know a lot of people got frustrated and, didn't hang out watching us, basically be muted for the first 20 minutes. And I struggle with these every month. It's just a hassle because
DT,
it's
to
never.
be honest, it's good content. It's fun content.
Yeah.
Well, it's fun.
It's kind
It's
of
fun
fun,
content.
it's
We
fun.
enjoy it. I enjoy hanging out with you guys. You guys,
It's real.
but the people watching it, I know, get frustrated because every time we start, and there was one time we spent 45 minutes.
Well,
Trying to
then
get-
maybe we should start at least among us a little bit earlier to figure out some kinks. And you could.
Well, that don't work until I start the stream though, because
Well,
how can I possibly know
you're
what
using YouTube. You can check
Yeah.
whether your audio works. That's one of the amazing qualities of YouTube and why I consider it a farm professional.
Can't you save
Uh,
profiles on OBS?
Yes,
Yes, but
but
They're
Pulse
brave.
Audio will
It changes
still
things.
move inputs and things
Yeah.
around on you. I always have to check because it's never going to be right. The next time I open it, things will be different.
Use Pipewire.
that's why you should install Pipewire, DT.
No,
Well, I could also use
to be
Jack,
realistic,
which I
he cannot unless he has to reinstall the operating system.
No, you can. I have done that
No.
on Ubuntu actually 2 times.
He could run
Ubuntu.
GNOME.
At the end of the day, Pipewire is just a service. All I have to do is disable Pulse Audio and enable Pipewire.
No,
Well, I could also
and
use Jack.
enable the Wire Plumber, and that's it.
Mhm.
Use Wire Plumber, don't use Media Session. Wire Plumber is just the best.
Yep.
The problem is I never stream. I stream once a month, so that's why I struggle streaming. Is
Well,
if I did it every day, I'd encounter these problems every day. But I won't encounter these problems again until next month.
Pipewire
it's
will
always-
also make your other recordings better because one of the things, it is actually lower latency than Pulse.
Yeah. Well, if I wanted real low latency, I'd use Jack, and I've used Jack before recording my videos. I've actually
I believe
I've
it's
played
just
around a
low
little
latency.
bit with Jack, see if it's any different than Pulse, and it's headaches with both. You're not saving yourself any frustration by switching to Jack, because Jack has its own problems.
Yeah, since I switched to Pipewire, I have no problems with it anymore.
So
The
you're
problem
saying
I
you
have
like-
with Jack is, I often record my desktop audio on my pre-recorded videos, and for some reason Jack it just loves disabling like the audio in your web browser, for example. I don't know if you guys have ever experimented with Jack, but
No.
I did a long time ago and didn't like it.
I get
I
my
know a guy
microphone working,
who-
and then it's going to disable all the audio from a web browser. So, you can't play like a YouTube video or anything and actually record it on a YouTube video.
I know someone who just uses Jack, and I've been saying that he's crazy for a while now. But now
Yeah.
I finally set up Pipewire and I can say that sorry, there is nothing better. And everything works with it. That's the amazing part.
And the YouTube chat says there's a slight delay. Yeah, I have a slight delay in my audio because these are the settings I use when I actually record. There's a slight delay between the camera and the mic on my normal camera, not this webcam. So I'm going to kill the audio delay, and now I should be in sync with everybody else. Hopefully I didn't kill the stream.
Like in line with what you were saying, Bigpod, I switched like a few months ago in my distro to Pipewire, and I've had much less people with audio issues. Because
Yeah,
initially
I got
I did it with Wire Plumber instead of Media Session the right way. I still don't understand why some distros keep insisting on using Media Session instead of Wire Plumber.
Wire Plumber is pretty new. At least newer, a lot newer than Media Session, and some distros don't trust it yet as a
But
default.
why are some distros are still stuck on Media Session?
Decision whether they consider it stable or not. Simple as that.
Asking why some distros do things differently than other distros.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a question we could ask about a million things.
Like, for example, Manjaro, as much as people like to hate on Manjaro, took a very important decision. Should we or should we not upgrade to Plasma 525? They did not. And good that they did not, because I did the mistake of upgrading to 525, and there was a lot of bugs, as with every initial release of any major update.
Well,
I
think
upgraded to 525 and I never had any problems. I
problems-
don't have any problems.
The problems were like KWin sometimes flashing windows and the floating panel flickering in and out for a lot of users, not everyone.
Was this for NVIDIA users mainly?
I actually had those problems before updating to 525. Flickering windows, especially when I turned on wobbly windows.
Yeah, so I talked to Nicolo Venerandi, the developer behind the floating panel, and he was like, "Yeah, the development team is aware of all the issues." And 1 week later, they pushed a point release that was scheduled for mid-July or early July. So they pushed it early because they noticed that they forgot, and if you read the changelog of 525.1, they will tell you there were typos. There were even issues related to typos in the build. So the issues were there. They acknowledged all the issues that were reported, and now it's much more stable. Except they introduced a new issue in KWin for some people. Again, not everyone, with some configurations. Hardware configurations like myself with NVIDIA, there's the shadow ghost rectangle around every time I hover over something. They acknowledge the issue and they're working on a new point release. But that's just to say, don't trust initial releases. Wait till at least first or second point release.
Well, there's two things with that. Plasma has always had an issue with NVIDIA.
Plasma.
It's always... It's never been good. You've always had to play with configuration settings to get Plasma to play nicely if you're using the proprietary NVIDIA drivers, always.
They don't acknowledge it. The problem is they don't acknowledge it. They tell you it works because everybody in the development team are on AMD or Intel.
Well, that's the problem, is you have to have people testing it and that are part of the team,
Problem is for them. Problem is NVIDIA is a valid part of the whole spectrum of devices you're gonna encounter. If you cannot in your development team get at least one device that is so widespread as NVIDIA GPUs are, then sorry, you're either ignorant or you're intentionally malicious.
Yes,
Especially for
and
such a big project as KDE or K desktop environment, whatever you want to call it.
And as
That
far
is a giant project. If you cannot get a single test system with a NVIDIA GPU, then you're
Yeah.
if you know it, you don't want to get.
Well,
you're malicious.
they get enough donations, the KDE project. They
Yeah.
could have people that they give these people laptops with an NVIDIA card and say, "Hey, you're part of the team. We want you to use this thing." And
yeah, but the thing that that irritates me is, as distro maintainers, we have to figure out the workarounds around stuff that the developers of the actual desktop environment that you're using have to do themselves. But we, like for me, in my case, in order to bypass issues with the NVIDIA drivers, I had to create my own repository and build my own patched versions of the proprietary NVIDIA driver, making sure it works on my on the desktop environment I'm shipping with my distro.
I think the headaches that you're discovering are headaches that the Manjaro team have discovered years ago, and that's why they're not afraid to hold back packages. They're not trying to push out the latest plasma until they know it's stable. Then they'll move on.
That's why I respected the Manjaro development team, because they know when to let loose a certain driver or a certain feature or a certain upgrade.
But then you've got people complaining that Manjaro isn't on the latest and greatest, whatever.
Well,
and
they
then,
know how to.
Yeah.
They
Well,
know
you
how
can
to turn a
satisfy
deaf
everyone.
ear to those things now. They have been doing it so long, they turn a deaf ear to those.
But many people don't know that there's an unstable branch of Manjaro as well. If you wanted to, if you
There are two
wanted the
branches.
latest and greatest everything, you could go that route. They purposely don't set that as a default.
Yeah,
but you could do it.
If you want, essentially,
that's the freedom of
Arch,
Linux, basically.
It's unstable. It's essentially Arch.
Yeah, you just roll with Arch.
If you want
at
a little
that
bit
point.
better, go testing.
Yeah.
I think testing is the best option to go with Manjaro.
But honestly, I think a lot of people imagine that the next version of their desktop environment is going to be so much better than the current one. If the current one's working for you, why are you wanting that new minor point release anyway? All you're doing is setting yourself up for a major breakage. Like if what's working for you is working, don't be so quick to jump to the next version. Yeah.
That's with everything.
Yeah.
That was a discussion. That was a discussion with the development team, with my team, basically, was because we rely on the upstream, like we rely on Arch repositories, like Arco does. When KDE push a major upgrade, we're gonna get it. Our users are gonna get it. Either we push a new ISO out or not. When they run the update command, it's gonna bring down all the plasma stuff. We cannot hold anything back because we're not controlling those.
Right.
But independent distros like Manjaro, like KOS, they control what comes into their users, what gets pushed to their users.
Yeah.
I sometimes wish I could do that, but as a single person maintaining a hobbyist distro, it's out of my hands.
And I know Ubuntu gets the same kind of hate when they're getting ready for like their new LTS releases. GNOME will have a big release like 3 weeks before the new LTS comes out. Ubuntu, are you going to be on the new version of GNOME? Hell no, they don't have time to test that. They're going to be on the one
to test. It's going to be barely packaged by the time.
And then you get people complain about it. Well, it's been out for 3 weeks before you released. You could have just went to the new version. No.
Well, those 3 weeks were already very much in feature freeze, so definitely not.
I mean, the thing is with Linux
is when all features stop.
At the end of the day, you do have ultimate choice. If you think your distribution is too stable and holding back packages with old packages, trust me, there's plenty of Wild West kind of distributions out there where the minute somebody pushes a new version out, you get it. If you want to be on one of those distributions, they're out there for you. But don't complain about distributions that purposely put themselves out there as stable distributions. Like Debian or Ubuntu and then complain that their packages are old. Well, of course their packages are old. They want their packages to be old. That's the point.
Yeah.
Appreciate that
this
super
is-
chat
this is-
there in the YouTube chat. Vadim, he says, "Thank you for your great continuous work. I appreciate that, sir. Thank you very much." Continue, Dark Zero.
As distro maintainers, I've learned the hard way that our decisions will receive both ends of the spectrum. We'll receive equally as much hate as we're going to receive praise.
You're never going to do it right. You're never going to do it right.
Every domain.
Right.
Yeah, there's no perfect distro.
There is nothing ever that gets perfect appreciation or 100% hate. There's always a bit of both.
Yeah, that's what sometimes I see the hate more than I see the praise. But
because most people are not going to praise you.
Psychology.
Yeah. If something's working, I'm not going to come and tell you, "Hey, great job." But if something's broke, then I'll let you know.
Yeah. So I'm learning as I go that this is the situation. So I need to address it head on. But sometimes users, and I'm gonna have to say it here because I don't make videos. So, but they have to understand that when it comes to hardware configurations and support, it's as distro maintainers who do not own your hardware, we keep running in circles, and it's a best guess situation. I found the solution, but I don't know if it works. The user either tests it or doesn't, and then we go round and round and round robin, and we don't get anywhere. So the only way for us to know which solution worked is by the user who reported the problem to test all the solutions we provide and report back. But the users don't test either that, or they test and they never report back. We need input to be able to better support, add more support to our distros, making it better.
But there is a small problem with that, because like 90% of users are just plug and play, so to say. It just wants something, and even if a problem arises, they just try to fix it, and they don't have time, or they just don't care enough to report it.
They won't spoon.
That's why those users should use Ubuntu, Fedora, Red Hat.
Correct. I agree 100% with Big Pod. Those
have behind corporate support. Those are many of those are stable distributions.
If you're talking about OpenSUSE Elite, not Tumbleweed.
Use something that is corporate support, something that is stable, not something that is very much community supported, very much a Wild West.
I am amazed.
I agree with you in a way. I have to say that that's kind of gatekeeping people, because you can't just say, if you don't want to report something, go use Ubuntu, leave us alone, don't use Arch or
no. You should be reporting bugs on any distribution. That's
problem is that those who aren't reporting also aren't willing to, many times aren't exactly willing to wait for fixes, aren't going to fix issues, won't work with developers.
But those kind of people, you're not going to convince them to move.
Now, I have an observation on this. Because
why didn't you fix it?
On my GitLab, I have an observation on this, and some of you guys that maintain repositories of software maybe can verify this. Are the people that open issues or report bugs, are they typically newer users or more experienced users? Because I've noticed it's typically newer users that are more likely to do this kind of stuff. The old hat kind of people, they just fix their problems, or they just say, well, it's broken, I'll find something new. They just move on and get their stuff done rather than reporting bugs typically.
100%. 100%.
I tend to see a mix of both.
No, for me, it's newer users who don't know how to do anything. They report the bugs. They open issues on GitHub. The more experienced users, sometimes in rare occasions, it has happened maybe a handful of times, where the more experienced users, instead of posting issues, they post solutions they post the issue, but they post the solution to the issue along with it.
Yeah, they've already fixed the problem, and you were lucky that they even posted, because a lot of times they'll fix their problem and never tell anybody about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They say, this is the problem, this is how you fix it.
And when I say they're new users, you can tell because of the kinds of questions or comments that they leave. Because I will get comments on some of my packages on my GitLab. Like I've got one package on GitLab, the shell color scripts program that I do, which technically could work on anything that runs a bash shell or any Linux shell. But here's the thing. I get people asking for Mac related questions. Mac, I don't have a Mac. Like, why are you? How did you even find me? How did you even know? So,
I got an issue opened on one of my repositories where a user asked, I installed Zero Linux on my MacBook, and I cannot do X and Y thing. I'm like, they asked, do you have a solution for that? Number one, how the hell did you get Zero Linux on a MacBook? And the second of all,
was it one of the newer ones?
Give them a solution. They refuse to apply the solution. I tell them, if you ain't ready to put in the time, don't do the crime.
Was he able to get it on one of, like, was it a new MacBook that he put that on? Like
no.
Because I was about to say he did accomplish. If he got that sucker installed on the new ones, yeah, pat him on the back, give him a gold star.
On old one, it's pretty easy to install.
It was a 2015-ish MacBook.
Yeah.
Yeah, on that.
I was like, how the hell did you? I didn't optimize Zero Linux for Macs, so how the hell did you get it installed? So that told me he was experienced enough to know how to install it on a MacBook.
And click a button. He was experienced enough to click a button. Bootcamp is so easy to use, and even I don't know that, and I used Mac 3 times. Bootcamp is essentially you click a button, you choose an ISO, and it reboots into install environment. It's easier
on the 2015
than on
and prior
PC.
MacBooks, yeah. But on the newer ones, it's a whole different ballgame.
M1 you can't.
No.
At least not yet. There are ways, but it's pain. But on the old ones, it's easier than on a Windows or a standard PC. It's easier.
Yeah. And with the, by the way, guys, did you know that Ventoy now supports persistence for live ISOs? Like, there's a guide on my forum that a guy wrote, not me. But apparently now Ventoy supports, if you want to, you don't want to install Linux, you don't want to bother installing Linux, but you want to use it portably on a USB stick or a external SSD. You can enable persistence. So whatever changes you do to the live environment persist.
Can you send that the link in chat? Because I use Ventoy with a couple ISOs and persistence
I'll
would
send
help.
it.
How does the persistence work? Like if I saved a document in one of the live environments, would it be available in all?
Yeah.
I like it.
And
nice.
Not only that, even if you customize and theme and do system stuff, they will get saved as well into a data file on the USB that you configure.
Nice.
You can configure it to up to 100 gigs, I think.
Yeah, I've never used Ventoy.
That was something neat.
Yeah. I've never actually used Ventoy. I don't know why, but I typically am not one of these people that carry around a million like distros on a USB stick. I know some people are. As long as I have a distro, it doesn't matter what it is on a USB stick. I just use them mainly for a system rescue. Like I just want to be able to get into a machine, if I need to rescue it somehow.
When I need to, I just download a new ISO and pop it onto an USB, and that's it. I just Rufus or whatever I use on Linux. That's what I do, man.
I just keep 5 distros plus Windows for any kind of, in case I need it,
Right.
And it has happened a few times.
Jabo, it's in the chat. The link is in the chat.
Thanks.
But for example, for me as a distro maintainer, I need to distro hop from time to time to see what other distros are doing that I can copy over to or include in Zero Linux. So I have around 5 or 6, and I have the Hiron boot disk because I have a PC repair shop. So I have the Hiron boot disk, and I have Windows 11, Windows 10. I have Windows all the way backwards to 98 because I get machines, banking machines that didn't do the upgrade to any Windows. They stuck to Windows 98.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
what I'm not gonna hate on anyone or comment on anything like that, because if banking work without an issue on Windows 98, why upgrade? Basically,
Well, it's not that
Oh
I
yeah.
have heard,
it's ready to.
although
I'm not gonna get in the middle of things.
it's not that it's working
Something
without an issue. It runs, that software will only run on
on
that,
Windows 98.
that they can't
Yeah.
go to anything else because they wrote it
Yeah,
in such a
exactly.
way. It's
I
one of those
remember-
things. They're kind of stuck. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember reading somewhere. Take my word with a pinch of salt, because I'm not sure if it's 100% real, but Nintendo still uses Windows Server 2000 for their servers,
Oh.
for their game servers.
Wow. That's
Probably.
Yes.
It's
Yes,
crazy.
that is true.
You
That is
can
true.
you can feel it when
Not
you
only
play
that,
games on.
Nintendo, they run on Windows 2000 and 2003. They got both.
Wow. Somebody
But
needs to
because
send.
it's stable and it works.
Somebody
Why-
needs to
why
send the
change?
Nintendo guys a Debian ISO. I'll send them a USB stick for free. Just
But yeah, so for me, for Zero Linux for now, you remember the last discussion last month when I asked you guys if releasing an ISO only when I feel like it was the right idea. You said no, and I agreed with you. And now it's every quarter, every 3 months, because we need time. Because I am a single maintainer. So every 3 months, I asked the community. They were like, "Yeah, 3 months, we agree, but nothing longer than that." But the way things have been developing is no more features, because I noticed that the more features I concentrate on adding, I forget to concentrate on stability.
But 3 months is
So
fine. I think going longer than 3 months, yeah, that would be crazy
Yeah.
because on a rolling release, then you start getting
People forget
Yeah.
you.
really
It
old.
causes problems. It causes issues.
Yeah, sometimes
So-
I've had that with old ISOs of Arch where I grabbed the wrong ISO, or even old ISOs of Gentoo where things have fundamentally changed with like some of their base packages to where you can't even get it installed from the old ISO anymore. You
Yeah.
have to get to the new one.
Yeah, exactly. So now we're concentrating on consistency and stability. Now we're not concentrating on features. And now I am proud to announce that Zero Linux is part of the distros that Arch Linux Tweak tool supports. The one that Eric has been working on. Now it officially supports Zero Linux. So it'll be coming in the next release as part of the tool, as an option for the users to re-enable the Arch Linux repositories and the chaotic repositories and the Endeavor repositories and all that, and tweak the system and install. This is the best feature of Arch Linux Tweak tool, is you can install different window managers and desktop environments on any distro.
Yeah,
Arch-based distro.
I've been enjoying watching Eric's content about the Arch
Yeah.
Tweak tool. I did want
This
to.
is beneficial for me
Mhm.
because I'm never going to support any other desktop environments or window managers other than KDE.
But you can give them that
this is
tool.
where-
Right.
Yeah, we give them that tool, and the tool is supported by a person that is more advanced than I am, that I ever will be.
Well, here's the thing.
Eric.
With that tool, he could eventually get to the point where KDE Plasma, he has an option for their version and for the Zero Linux version.
Yeah.
Maybe for the Xmonad version, my version, and their version. Right? You could have multiple.
Here's the Achilles heel of the Arch Linux
Mhm.
Tweak tool. You just mentioned it. Eric was very clear to mention that if they want to rice whatever WM or desktop environment that they add using that tool, if they want to rice them, as soon as they initiate the ricing, it will reset the settings to scratch. So they will end up with a black, like Xmonad. They're going to end up with a black screen. They have to start configuring everything from scratch because the Arco Linux tweaks and ricing is hard coded in each and every one of them.
Can
So
I
if
ask
you
a
start
stupid
messing with
question?
them, you're gonna reset the whole settings, and you have to start ricing them from or setting them up from scratch.
Yeah, go ahead, Hip Dad.
What does ricing mean?
Customizing, theming.
Customizing,
Yeah.
theming. Like when you apply a theme, you customize the transparency and stuff like that. That's ricing.
Making it look good so
Oh,
you can take a screenshot of it and put it on r/Unix porn, the subreddit for
well,
screenshots.
yeah. I actually had an accidental foobar of my system due to that stuff. I was doing an apt. I did sudo, apt update, and I was sudo apting something, and then it come up and showed all these packages that they said were useless.
Yeah.
They were left over from installations.
Oh,
So I went ahead and did sudo apt remove. Yes.
Read the list
Enjoy
before, yeah, because you'll be
Yeah,
surprised.
enjoy your NVIDIA settings disappearing.
Yeah.
And thanks to time shift, within 5 minutes, I was back to where I was.
I have tried to remove packages on my art systems before where it said like the Linux kernel was a dependency, so it was going to remove the kernel. And thankfully, I read that before I clicked the yes button. Right.
Well, I read the
There
stuff,
is
but
a
I
way
thought
to-
it was just packages.
Yeah.
I thought there was a way to configure it so that Pacman wouldn't remove certain packages automatically when
you can pin them.
okay.
you can, but you have to be an advanced kind of knowledgeable enough to know how to do that. But regular new users, they're not going to even give that a second thought.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm not new, but I'm not experienced, so
It's just playing with the Pac-Man config. It's something that most
Just read
users
the
not
man
going to.
Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Just read
yeah,
the
fair
man
enough.
Pac-Man.
Man Pac-Man.
That's easy.
Man, Pac-Man, yeah. I did want to respond to a question in the chat. Umit Halen, I'm sure I didn't pronounce that right, asked, do you mind using a non-GNU Linux distribution like Alpine or Void with MUSL? I didn't see you using a non-GNU Linux distro ever. I've used Void in the past. I have no problem with that. As far as Alpine, people keep asking me about Alpine. I'm a desktop Linux user. Alpine's for routers and firewalls. What the hell am I going to do with why would I install Alpine? What am I going to do with it? So no, I don't plan on using Alpine anytime soon.
Alpine can also do desktop.
Yeah, but that's not what it, that's like CentOS. I remember people every now and then, I'd run across that crazy person that was running CentOS as their desktop distribution. I'm like, why the hell? Why? What made you think that was a good idea? Right?
Fellow
Oh, that's
Jitzer
terrible.
Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
let's get
woods.
fellow.
I just wanted to say that.
Hold on just a second. Fellow Jitzer. I'm not sure that's the default name for Jitsi, but what's your name, sir?
Hi, I'm Daniel.
All right.
Hi, DT.
Hey.
Thank you for this opportunity to be here. And just see, sorry I came late, but I just wanted to raise a question here. So for the people who are software developers, you know very well that as soon you finish a certain feature or certain stuff, you finish with the software, and there is a QA team that tests your software, and after the testing you realize you want to change something, then the question is your software still stable or not? And I started with Linux in 1988 with Slackware. I remember those days, but in the recent years I discovered NixOS, and I after that I don't see any reason why use any other distro if you finally solve the dependency problems you have in any other distro, where you are sure if you develop a software that was tested with a specific glibc version, that you are more sure, or you are pretty sure that the software is going to run everywhere.
Right.
And it's the only distribution that assures you that that is only NixOS.
Yeah. And I was
And
actually going to bring up NixOS earlier, so I'm glad you did, because NixOS with their new Calamaris installer, I think a lot more people are going to be exploring that, because I think the installation for NixOS, even for people that are programmers or developers, I think that kind of scared them away. I mean, let's be honest, not everybody wanted to go through the old Nix install.
But this is even easier than Gentoo, for example.
It is if you know what you're doing, getting into it.
But here's my thing. He brought up a very interesting subject.
Mhm.
Like, if you develop a piece of software, you make sure it works on a certain distro. Like, you made it specific to NixOS. But with the state of Linux now, I've noticed this recently, is you will find all of a sudden that that piece of software that was initially created, written, and tested on NixOS, it will make its way to the AUR somehow, and people will start installing it on Arch, and it's going to become called unstable because it doesn't work well under Arch, and people are going to attack the developer of the app because it's not working on Arch, when the developer never intended it to work outside its own native environment, which is NixOS.
Well, I think if you're developing a piece of software that you want to run universally, then you really have to start considering containers at that point. I mean,
Yes, that's what I'm
Yes.
saying. Like,
Mhm.
for example, Plex. I just received a push notification today from Plex. They announcing that they created a snap of their Plex HTPC app that can be run as a container on Arch now. It's on the AUR. I contacted them immediately. Do you think that I can use the AUR package? It's one of their own developers that's maintaining the AUR package, which is just a snap that will be packaged up as a Arch package if you build it and host it on your repo, and it will run just fine. They just give you set expectations, and they tell you don't expect it to be fully integrated if you install it that way. You have to install it the official snap way.
Yeah, I have a question, because I've seen this before with the AUR, people packaging snaps, flat packs, app images as AUR packages. Do you guys think that is something that's okay, or would you rather them not do that?
Not
Because that's
not
weird that you're packaging this universal
It's
format
like-
that
it's
you
like
could install
taking
that, you know,
It's like taking a car and expecting it to run like a truck.
especially with app image, because it's its own binary, and now you're making a Arch package out of it. It's like you're defeating the purpose of what that thing was originally
It's
for.
no longer a container.
Right.
It's no longer
right.
a container.
Yeah.
So developers or
Let's-
maintainers have to put a fine print and a warning and something if they want to maintain it on the AUR. They have to tell people, don't expect it to work 100% because we never built it that way. You're defeating the purpose. We created it as a container, as a container, as a snap package or Flatpak or whatever. It's never meant to be used that way, but use it at your own risk, kind of thing.
AOR
have to
is
put it
at
forward.
your own risk. Is its implication
That's
just by
what it
using
stands for, at your own risk.
Agree.
I didn't know that.
Agree. It's at your own as is. So
You want to use
Yeah.
the app, just get the snap package as it was intended. Why do you want to get the AUR
Yeah.
package or the?
simple as that.
Mainly for convenience, because most people who use Arch or Arch-based distribution already have a way to install AUR packages, but not every Arch-based distribution has a way to install snap packages. And I have had problems
Sudo
with setting up.
snapd.
They may not have
Or-
I have
Yeah.
had problems setting up the Snap Store or Snap
Yeah.
on Arch.
Mainline
And,
Arch doesn't
yeah.
have any of it installed by default, but just install Snapd and you're good with Snap. Same thing
Yeah.
with Flatpak. Just install Flatpak
And
you're good to-
enable it in systemd, and that's it.
Yeah.
Only to
Snapd
do.
didn't work for me the first time. I did manage to make it work, but I don't know why it didn't work. It just didn't.
Did you enable
Well,
the service with systemd?
Yeah.
You have to, and then
Yeah,
reboot?
I did. No, I don't remember exactly what the problem was, but
You may have to reboot too.
yes, I had enabled
Mhm.
it and I started it.
Let's go a bit back and let's talk about more in broader of this. As I am a programmer, or a software engineer, work on containers. I work on packages as well. I'm gonna say this. First of all, Linux has a problem that's called shared objects. It's basically a leftover of the old Unix era where you didn't have giant hard drives, didn't have systems with terabytes of storage, and you had to have libraries that were shared between different programs. Problem is that era is over. We're not anymore in that era, but people who are still Linux way, or who are especially older zealots, think we should still use the Linux or Unix philosophy.
Uh-oh. Big Pod fell
It
down.
fell over.
He got so excited that something happened.
Sorry.
His microphone kicked the cam.
When he's talking about shared libraries, boy, he gets really excited.
Even his camera doesn't like No, but the problem, Arch's Achilles heel right now is that there's a lot of people. There's no unified thought. There's no unified goal. Everybody has. It's a race. It's an ongoing race right now. There is no unification in thought process, in support, in helping Linux grow. Everybody wants to do things better than the other one.
Well, with community distros, especially big ones like Debian and Arch, you really need somebody strong at the top to call the shots, because too many people are trying to pull the distros in so many different directions. And it's like the systemd thing when both Debian and Arch moved to systemd. You had so many people that didn't want to go that route, but somebody had to say, screw it, this is a direction to go. This is happening. I know a lot of people were against the Arch installer, the new installer, because you have to install it the Arch way, the command line way, giving them this menu system.
This one I
the
really
Arch
don't
way
understand, because it's still
is what they decide to be. The Arch people who are Arch.
You know why the Arch guys have the
still there.
installer? You know why the Arch guys did the installer? Is because we were talking about Nix earlier. They see the direction Nix is going with the config file and everything, and Arch is like, well, now we can have this config file that we just plug in, just like the Nix guys, because they see that Nix OS is actually kind of the new Arch. Like, that's the hip, cool distro everybody wants to go to. So now they got to kind of keep up.
Yep.
But I really don't understand why everybody got so mad, because the Archway is still there. I mean, you're not.
Yes.
No one makes you use
Right.
the Arch install script.
It's not like if you had like an
Arch way.
installation script or anything that used the old command line installer. They didn't break anything. They just offered a new option if you want it.
Jabo, you're right. I'll just tell you one thing. This is what Zero Linux excels at. It offers users different ways of doing things. Like, I never force anything on the users, and we came to a decision recently. It's a promise that I'm keeping to users, that Zero Linux will remain as it is, offering the users the option to opt into new features and which new features they want. Like, if they have it currently installed and I release a new ISO with new features, instead of forcing those new features on the users who have it already installed, they will be pushed via my tool. For example, okay, those are the new features of the new ISO. Which one would you like? And this is something that's helping Zero grow. This feature alone, offering the freedom for the user to do whatever he wants to do with Zero Linux, instead of forcing things on the user. Do not force anything on the users, and they will like you for it.
Yes. Although I agree with you, you do have to be wary of going too far into that. That giving users a lot of
Yeah, there's a limit
choices,
to
too
the
many
freedom.
choices, because I have fallen into that trap before when
Yes.
I made
They
a
will never be.
small.
Don't give them choice. Just give them what you want, and
No, that's not what I'm saying. I mean,
No,
no,
no.
that's what
made
I'm saying. Is don't give them a choice. Just give them what you want, and they'll figure out
Yeah,
Now
I
let's
their
get
own
back to
thing.
remember.
what I was
Yeah.
saying because I didn't finish the thought. Because of the shared objects, you're gonna have every application will be forced to use the same library, which is what causes many
But
problems.
that's the suckless way to do things. We're not trying to be bloat.
That is wrong way to do this in the current era of computer.
Don't bloat my file system, Big Pod.
No
You're bloating
other
my file
operating
system.
system does that anymore. It's only Linux that still does this, and it's wrong in that respect. If you look at Windows never did that.
Yeah,
um,
but
Mac OS doesn't do that.
what about the VC runtime?
Yeah, certain
Yeah, I mean
libraries do
that's
very,
like
and even those get, even those are sometimes local to the program.
not really. I mean it's a over 2 GB giant mashup of different libraries that basically all programs use. And yes, there are different versions, 2015, 2017,
Well,
etc. But it's still just one. You can uninstall all
yes,
other
you can
versions. And
uninstall it, but there's a ways to get it local, and the packages certain programs do
yes,
ship
but no,
parts of it
I just
local.
wanted to say that no, Windows doesn't
Yes,
have this philosophy of bundling
uh,
everything in with the program.
there are certain libraries that are in Windows that are shared, yes, but most of them not. It's not to the way of Linux where everything is shared. You won't find, I don't know, library X, like let's say libssh2 or the libssh, whatever it's called. You won't find that to be shared between your SSH client and your SCP even, or even some other application with SSH. You won't find that on Windows. You won't find it on Mac. You won't find it on
we've already solved this
any other
problem, Big
operating
Pod.
system.
Nick,
Yes,
Nicks and
it's called
geeks are kind of solving this problem with the way they're
Snap
packaging things.
Flatpak app image,
Yeah.
and we should start using that far more than we do.
Yeah. And app images. Yeah, all these kind of containers, they've already kind of solved that problem. The problem is you're never going to get all of the Linux world to
Yes,
decide on a certain containerized format. And then you're going to have the ones that don't want to do containers at all. You're always going to have that suckless crowd that I was talking about, the anti-bloat crowd. So
they can do whatever they want, but
yeah.
they're wrong. And for those who say native programs versus containerized,
Yeah.
let me tell you a secret. That containerized program is almost more closer to kernel than your program you run in your standard environment as a native package. It's almost closer to the kernel and more native than your package. Why? Because it's always using is a Linux kernel namespace, with your environment being one of them, and that container environment being another one, and you have as many namespaces as possible.
Well, we could talk about containers all day, but I did want to get to another topic because I thought this was one of the biggest topics for the past month was the death of the Atom text editor, because all of you guys know that Atom was the very first Electron app. GitHub created Electron and Atom. Atom was kind of the proof of concept that Electron works,
Yes.
hence the name Atom Electron. And now GitHub has decided to kill Atom.
Good.
Quick interesting fact about Atom: they actually killed it in some countries before doing it globally.
I did not
Especially
know
in Europe, there were like 2 countries, Romania and Hungary. They disabled it. You couldn't download it here without a VPN.
that. I wonder why they targeted those countries. That's weird.
But not just that. I think there were like in Asia also, in some regions you couldn't download it. Like maybe 3 months before they killed it.
Yeah,
I was going to mention.
Yeah, I was going to say the
go ahead.
comment section for my video about the death of Atom was hilarious. Some of the comments because people were celebrating the death of an Electron app. The hate for Electron is very real.
I'm
I
one
don't
of the
know why.
haters.
Yeah.
I'm one of the haters of Electron apps because
Why?
there's no standard. You got some Electron apps like DT mentioned in one of his videos. You got some Electron apps that rely on Electron 12 or 10. Other Electron apps relying on 13. You don't
Okay,
have
and
a
why is
standard.
it a problem?
Float.
It is a problem, but it's also another problem that it's not just with Electron.
It's a problem with
It's-
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything that records a dependency.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yeah, but we're
that's-
talking Since we're talking Electron apps, I wanted to mention that the fact that you end up with 20 versions of Electron on your system because each
Okay.
app relies on a certain version of Electron.
So what?
It's used space because each Electron version occupies like hundreds of megabytes, and not everybody's got.
Yeah, that is the one.
I'm gonna say something that Google will hate. Don't give a fuck about those few gigabytes. It's in the grand scheme of things, it's nothing.
Well, it depends on.
Sorry
Not
to
for
say this,
everybody.
Yeah,
but
it
it's
depends on the
nothing
device you're putting it
for
on.
most
yeah.
people.
I
I'm talking general, talking bell curve, the giant hill. That's what I'm talking about. Sure, there are some people who have little. Sure, there are some people who have a lot. But in general, most computers nowadays have at least 512 gigabyte storage, and a good percentage of them have 1 terabyte.
And in the chat, Sharktooth mentions Electron apps are the best candidate for Snap's Flatpaks app images. We are actually inside an Electron app right now, Jitsi,
Yep.
if you're using the desktop client.
Yeah.
And most of us are probably using the app image if you downloaded it from the Jitsi GitHub because that's what they push. So yeah, you can put Electron inside these containers, and it does make sense, and it solves that problem of having, a million.
Sharktooth is a very good friend of mine. He's a DevOps, and he knows the backend and how things work. Well, Electron apps are basically Chromium in a container.
Yeah.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah, if you don't want all of that Electron stuff installed, I mean, most people are not going to have that many Electron apps installed. For Jitsi, do the app image; it just works. For Discord, do the Flatpak. I think that's what they officially recommend. That's the only Electron apps I can think that I have installed at the moment.
I only have Jitsi and Perdium.
3. I think I have 3.
A lot of people will probably have
Discord,
Spotify is an Electron app.
Spotify,
Yeah.
and VS Code.
Yeah, VS Code.
Oh
V-
yeah.
In that case, I guess I have VS Code, Spotify, and Discord, and that's about it. Although I'm trying to quit.
And all of those will run in a container. I think they all have Snaps, Flatpaks, or app images available.
Well,
so
I
you
have
don't
good news. I have a solution for that.
Mhm.
Instead of having multiple electrons on your system, there's Perdium, which is a fork of Purdy, where you can run Jitsi, you can run Skype, you can run WhatsApp, you can run all these in a single app.
Yeah, you had mentioned that.
I've heard about it, but I had problems with staying logged in.
Yeah, they break the
With Purdy,
protocol
yes, because
usually.
they discontinued the service. But Perdium, I've been
Ferdium.
using it
With
since
Ferdium, I had problems with staying logged in some apps. WhatsApp, for example, doesn't.
Yeah,
want to stay logged in.
I haven't had any issues on my end, but the thing is, like, instead of having multiple versions occupying space on my system, I have a single one, and I can log into anything, to any service I want. I can even open websites. I can do whatever I want in a single app, and I leave it open on one screen. Like, I can run Jitsi, talk to you guys, while doing other things in a single app instead of having multiple apps open.
I still say, so what?
On,
Sorry, but to me, that's not a problem.
That's not a problem. I'm not saying it is a problem. I'm just saying it just is an option for
me,
users
it's a mindset
who are
problem,
low on
honestly.
RAM, for example.
Discordium app, it's like the window managers where you have several screens and you can put several apps on one screen, like using one app, and for me at least,
Yeah,
it looks like
it's useful. It has its use, and it's a double-edged sword. If you don't want to keep switching tabs to switch between applications, you have to open separate apps. But for me, I don't have an issue switching between tabs, like to go to WhatsApp, send a message, then go back to Discord, the Discord tab to send another message. I don't have a problem with that because it saves me the RAM, because I am a distro maintainer. I need the RAM to build packages for my repo from the AUR.
I'll be honest. I'm looking at this Ferdium app, and it looks pretty cool. I don't know if I could ever check it out because I don't use any of the services like WhatsApp and Twitter, and I don't use.
Yeah, I
I don't
don't
have an
either.
account for any of them, so I
You
could never try it
You're
out.
a unique case.
But-
You're a unique case, my friend.
But for the people that do, it does look pretty neat, and the Ferdium app itself is free software. It's licensed under the Apache license, so that's cool.
And with this whole discussion, we're just back to the options. Give people options.
Yeah. But not too many options. You have to control how many options you offer to the users. You open the floodgates, and you're gonna drown.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I limit it to 6 options. I always limit it to 6 options. I vary the options, but it's always 6.
And in the chat, I'm going to give some technical support here to Monkey Gaming. Okay, guys, quick question. Can someone tell me why my XMO bar is showing updating instead of my workspaces? My config is from the log hook, copied from DT's xmonad config. Okay, so if XMO bar has any kind of issues, it just has the word updating ... on it. It won't show anything else. Your config's broken. Don't copy and paste stuff from my config into your config without knowing what it's going to do.
Had a video about this.
Just undo what you did, and it'll work again. And then slowly add things from my config, line by line, piece by piece, and you will figure out the line that's causing you the problem, and hopefully you'll figure out what that problem is. Chances are it's looking for... Yeah. I'm just going to take a guess. I've got a lot of widgets and stuff in my XMO bar config. It may be looking for a network device that's not there. If it's monitoring like networking, it may be looking for stuff that's not on your computer, right? So that's the best I can do. But I would just undo my config. If you don't understand my config, just undo it.
Yeah, I think that you had a video about this issue of copying code from other from other configs.
Especially like in my xmonad config. If he copied that, my xmonad config is 1,000 lines long. Like if you just copy and pasted the whole thing and you didn't know any of the code in it, and then it doesn't work for me, it's broken. Well, what's the problem? Well, you're gonna have absolutely no idea what it could be. One word, one line in that config file that's causing you the issue. But how would you know when you copy and pasted 1,000 lines into something, right? So start slow, piece by piece. It's going to be time consuming, but take it just a few things at a time and recompile. And if it recompiles correctly, move on to the next thing. You'll eventually find the thing that's causing the problem.
Isn't there actually also a great error debugger from the Glasgow Haskell compiler?
It will give you errors.
See where the Haskell issue is lying underneath. So
it will if xmonad is the problem. Yeah, xmonad, you'll get a Haskell compiler error.
Which brings me to a question to you, DT. Since you built your xmonad on Arco's distro, if a user should install xmonad from the Arch Linux tool that Eric is working on, would DTOS be easy to install on that?
Yeah, it should work on. It should work on every
the same base.
It'll work on every Arch distro. It should, because they're all on the same version of xmonad.
Well, but one thing, Eric ships Arco with Polybar as default, so you'll have to go with the Arco.
Well, they also have.
They have a separate version for the xmonad xmobar.
Okay. Yeah, you would have to have all the programs installed that I call in my config. For example, the startup is going to start various things like the Emacs daemon and things like that. You'd have to install a few of those dependencies, but yes, my config will work because it's essentially the same version of all the programs on every Arch distribution. Where things get weird is somebody like the fellow that was on Nix. They're on a different version than Xmonad. They're on a newer version that uses a little different syntax, some different libraries, been renamed. My config will not work on that newer version. So everybody that's on Arch, I'll be fine. But if it's a newer version, like the Nix guys, it won't work. If it's a really old version, like on Debian Stable, my config probably wouldn't work either. So that's the problem. It only works for Arch. And I get a lot of people on my .files repo complain about my Xmonad config not working on some other distribution that's not Arch based. And it's just the versions of Xmonad are not compatible, you know.
There's another, which leads me to my real question, which is, if I should ever decide to include DTOS as an option in Zero Linux to add on top of Arco Linux's Xmonad or Arch Linux Tweak Tools Xmonad, would that work?
Yeah, it would be no problem.
Because
we need to tinker a little bit with the Arco base, I guess. I tried it in a virtual machine. I had some issues. I needed to fix some Haskell stuff, install some packages, but it worked eventually. So yeah, I'm not 100% certain if it would work straight out of the box from the Arco version.
Yeah, like you said, Stefano, like the Arco Linux ships with Polybar versus DTOS, which ships with Xmobar. So we'll have to remove Polybar and leave the DTOS install. So might add a line to the script that removes Polybar and replaces it with Xmobar.
The only thing you'd have to do if you were just giving people my Xmonad configs and my Xmobar configs, if that's all you wanted to do, is just make sure all the dependencies for the configs are there. Other than that,
we'll leave for Emacs and Doom Emacs and all that.
Right.
So yeah, because I have an option in my tool to install Doom Emacs anyway. So.
But you are loading the Xmobar straight from the Xmonad startup hook, right?
Yeah. There is
for DTOS, So I will try that in a VM, maybe operate with your permission, of course.
Yeah, I mean, fine. One thing is you wouldn't necessarily have to like remove Polybar if you had to install Xmobar for somebody, because
remove it from the startup at least.
No, yeah, but I wouldn't remove a package because they may have other window managers that need Polybar.
Yeah, true.
BSPWM is a popular one that almost everybody uses Polybar with. So I wouldn't do that because you could break their other window manager configs if you.
Not just looking at the base scale of Polybar here from Arco, like it's a 2000 line file that contains configuration from all the window managers that are there.
Yeah, the Polybar config is gigantic and confusing because it has so much stuff in it. And honestly, I don't play with Polybar that much because all of my favorite window managers have a built-in bar. Like there's really only one window manager that doesn't come with its own bar other than Xmonad, but Xmonad has Xmobar. They're two separate packages, but BSPWM is the only one that doesn't come with a bar, and that's kind of what everybody uses Polybar with. But everything else, i3's panel is fine. I don't need Polybar with i3.
But Stefano, the way Arco Linux does the Polybar is kind of wrong, because when I used to ship with XFCE, I split the configuration of Polybar into multiple files.
Yeah, it's a giant file. I think they do it for maintainability, as they're having a heavy focus on scaling.
Because Awesome Window Manager has a bar. It's fantastic. Nobody would ever swap that thing out with Polybar. Qtile, the same way, has a fantastic panel built into it. DWM has a built-in panel, but if you actually swap that out for Polybar, I'm pretty sure the suckless guys would track you down and beat you with a club. So, I mean, that would be bloat, right? That would be anti-suckless.
Which brings me to a question. What do you guys think of what's it called? Enlightenment.
I've played around with it in years past. It's pretty neat. If people like floating window managers like OpenBox, Enlightenment is nice because it's a little easier to get into, and Enlightenment's kind of like a full desktop environment where OpenBox is a really minimal window manager out of the box. Enlightenment you can just install and use right away. OpenBox you can't just install and use right away. If you've ever installed just the bare OpenBox package, you log in and you get a gray or a brown screen. You don't get wallpaper. You get nothing. You don't get a panel. You just get a gray screen. And if you don't know what you're doing at that point, you're in a lot of trouble.
But Enlightenment, there's a multiple versions being maintained by different developers,
Yeah.
like E1, E17, E25,
Because they started forking it. Honestly, I like what Bodhi Linux does with their Moksha desktop, which was based on E17, I think. It looks good. It's peppy. It's fast.
I've looked at it recently because of Sharktooth 76.
Mhm.
It looks a lot like a mixture of a window managers and a Windows XP-esque that wants to look like Mac.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I mean, it's got a very retro look. All of those kind of window managers, those box style window managers like OpenBox, Fluxbox, Enlightenment kind of has that same kind of feel to it. They're very late 90s, early 2000s kind of feel. And for a lot of people, that's what they want.
Managers easy to use.
I loved
They're trying to make window managers easy to use.
Yeah, Enlightenment. I loved it. I don't now within Ubuntu. It's not functional enough for me.
And there's a lot of people that don't want the modern desktop experience. They don't want flashy. They don't want the new GNOME 42. They don't even want Plasma, which has a much more traditional look to it. They want that Windows 98, Windows 2000 kind of desktop. That's all they want. That's what
it is
they
a
know.
nice look, though.
Yeah.
That minimal kind of sharp buttons.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, we don't do rounded corners.
No, you can't cut yourself on those.
I miss the old days when you grabbed your Debian disk and you checked off install all packages.
Mhm.
That was fun.
It's funny you mentioned rounded corners because I remember way back in the day, back when I was early days Linux user and first got into using window managers. OpenBox was the first one. I remember looking around the internet, people were trying to hack their OpenBox themes because they wanted rounded corners like all the cool kids. Because the GNOME users have rounded corners, I need rounded corners. And what does it matter? But a lot of people, those couple of pixels on the corner of a window, they actually matter to some people. You'd be surprised, aesthetics, how much it really means to some people. It's really more about the look. We talked about rising earlier. For some people, that is their desktop experience. That's what they want. They want to customize something and make it beautiful. It doesn't matter if it works. They just want it to look good for that split second when they take that screenshot.
I remember the first time I experienced rounded corners when I got an update on my phone, Android phone. It was from Android 4 to Android 5, and it added rounded corners on folders. And I was like, oh, this looks weird.
Yeah.
But didn't have XP actually also rounded corners? Windows XP did have.
Yeah.
I didn't use a PC back
updated.
then that much. I only
I know
used
for sure Vista did.
I was too young for a PC.
I remember Vista was very rounded because there was a lot of things.
Yeah.
Well,
I ran XP until 2014.
And now modern day, we have these PyCom forks that add rounded corners to your tiling window manager windows. And these PyCom forks are so buggy. And I know people do not, I mean, you can install them and play with them, but just know they're going to break things. So just deal with square windows.
like this is you brought a very good, important subject.
Mm-hmm.
Would you trust the fork of a certain package, or would you trust you would put more trust into the original project.
Depends on what's
It
being
depends
It
what-
maintained.
depends, yeah.
What the fork is trying to do.
If the original is no longer maintained and then somebody forks it,
No,
yeah, that's different. But if the original is still being maintained, yeah, I'm typically gonna stay with.
Yobim, guys.
I mean, when the original has power, probably I will use the fork.
Audacity, right? Is that where we're going? But here's the thing with the Audacity
I
forks
don't
or
use
any
Audacity.
Audacity, none of the forks seem like they're really being actively maintained. A couple of them started out like there was a lot of fervor around Audacium and Tenacity, but now looking at the GitHub commits for those, nobody's really interested. It's like everybody just, you know what, we'll go back to Audacity, I guess. Nobody's maintaining those forks.
As far as I know, you can disable the I forgot the word.
Telemetry.
Yeah, you can
telemetry.
Just run HBlock and disable it system wide.
It's
But
too hard for me.
the thing that brought the question into my mind was projects like since we were talking rounded corners, something like Lightly Shaders.
Yeah.
It's got so many forks with so many different names. Would you trust the original Lightly Shaders, or since they're all being still actively maintained? Which one would you trust? I would trust the original. I wouldn't go forks because you never know what the forks are gonna do to your system. The original should be enough.
Well, when you're talking about trust, if you're talking like from a security issue,
No trust. I
or
mean,
trust
no.
as from a stability issue, like the package isn't gonna break.
Yeah, so I don't trust forks. I just go to them, stick to the original project because I know this is the guy had an idea. He's the originator of the idea. The forks might bring more features, but at the cost of what? Stability, because to me forks are experimental more than
I can
stable,
give at
because
least
the original had been doing that thing for longer than the forks were.
Hey guys,
I can give one example where a fork actually, the main reason for the fork was to improve stability, like PolyMC to MultiMC. It's a Minecraft launcher.
Yeah.
The main reason for PolyMC was to improve stability of MultiMC and to make it a little bit more open.
Okay. There are some rare cases. Yeah, true. But
Also,
in general, I would trust the original more because I've had the bad experience of going forks and seeing that okay, they added those features, yay, cool, but my system is unresponsive now. Like I've been bitten before.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's not a problem. I was just giving an example of the other.
So there's
part.
both sides. Yeah,
Yeah,
that is true. Sometimes they do it and they do fix issues. Wow. But my problem is forks. Sometimes it's too problematic for me. But in the case, to illustrate your point, Jabo, somebody forked Kwin for KDE that works better than Kwin, the original project.
okay. It's Sabo, by the way. Just
what?
A normal S. It's a normal S. It's Sabo.
Sabo, sorry. So Kwin has been forked, and there are not many forks, but one of the forks, I forget the name, I tested it and it works better than Kwin. It solves most Kwin issues.
Yeah.
So this is a case, I just remembered it as you were mentioning. I just remembered this is a case where a fork does fix stability issues rather than break them.
Yeah, again, there are examples on both sides. It depends on the project and it depends on the fork.
It depends on what they're forking the project for, because when I mentioned PyCom, there's so many PyCom forks because people are trying to add all of these weird compositing effects, blurring and shadowing.
And it still doesn't work in a virtual machine.
And there's a reason why the main branch of PyCom doesn't support any of that, because they have the option to put all that code in mainline PyCom. It's because stability. It doesn't work in all desktop environments, all window managers. It doesn't work for all video cards, all video drivers. And the forks, they solve a problem usually for the one developer who forked it, for his particular hardware, his particular setup. But it's going to be
It
buggy
ends up
for
breaking for the
right.
rest. Yeah.
That's the problem. And a lot of these forks are not intended. They're not intended for the public anyway. A lot of people fork something just for themselves, which is okay. I mean, that's kind of why
That's what I do sometimes.
That's what it's there for. That's the point of freedom, is to be able to make something your own.
This is one of the reasons that Zero Linux came to be. It was to satisfy me, but then I did the mistake, and I keep thinking that it's a mistake. But some people tell me, no, it wasn't a mistake. It's awesome. Your distro is awesome. But the thing is that I did it for my hardware, and they keep asking me to support their own individual hardware configurations.
Yeah.
It's like it's an annoying thing, but now it has become fun for me, because I reply the same thing. I just sent the user ArchWiki, a link to the ArchWiki. So now I don't do anything. You're having hardware issues? Okay, ArchWiki, because Zero Linux basically is like Arco. It doesn't have anything hardware related included on the ISO. So it's basically Arch.
Now, I do have a complaint, because I know several of you guys probably use KDE Plasma, or at least you use the KDE application I'm going to talk about. Kdenlive had an update that absolutely made me pull my hair out. And I've got hair. I did have hair before using Kdenlive.
Liar.
They now added a new custom quality setting, where when you render the video and you go into the advanced options, which aren't ticked on by default, but if you click on advanced options, you get a new section of the render frame where you can set custom quality of video from anywhere from 0 to 100%. And of course it should be at 100%. Why would you ever want it to be lesser quality? It makes absolutely no sense. But they have that ticked on by default, custom quality, and they have it set to 3% as their default.
You have made a video about that, right?
Suckless.
I think
Well, I made a video about it before, that Kdenlive was a piece of crap and was causing me issues, but I didn't know what the problem was until somebody in the comments actually pointed out they had the exact same issue. Actually, I had several people say they had the exact same issue, but one person told me what the problem was. And I was like, that is the most insane default setting to put in an application I've ever seen. Like, who actually thought that was a good idea as a default setting? 3% quality on a video, meaning if I'm recording something 1080p, 60 frames a second, we're only going to do about 3% of that quality instead of... It's
for someone who wants to send some short video over the internet to some other... I don't know. Probably
I don't know, but if you were going to do that, why wouldn't you? If you were worried about
bandwidth, yeah,
you would just record it in 480p or something. You wouldn't record it in 1080p and then drop.
Also, I think
weird...
that shouldn't be in the advanced settings. That's
no. If you're going to tick it on by default and set it to 3%, it should be up front. Hey, we changed this. Not, I render a video that takes me an hour to render, and then I go to watch the video, and it's just this pixelated, blurry mess. And then I just wasted an hour because you hid that setting somewhere and didn't tell me about it.
That's a YouTube
I
setting.
don't use Kdenlive.
Yeah, that's a YouTube setting for when you purchase a ultra high def movie, and then you go to watch it, and you can't. Oh, you can only watch it in 480p.
Oh, that is
no,
weird.
I'm being sarcastic.
Yeah, I mean that would be weird. Yeah.
And I never
that
bought
explains why my videos were like 30 megabytes and they were like 36 minutes.
Yeah, and that's literally the most insane software update I have ever seen. Because I don't know who thought that was a good idea to add that setting and then tick it on, make it 3% by default, and then hide it, and then don't tell anybody about it. Like, that's literally.
Maybe he's just the most genius troll.
And I know they got some real pros working on Kdenlive, because I mean, you got to be a pretty brilliant person to build a piece of software like that. But the person that added that,
no, but there's another update. Like, when I first started using Kdenlive, I used to be able to render using the NVENC encoder because I'm an NVIDIA user.
Yeah.
After a certain update at some point, and the NVENC encoder was, before it used to be labeled experimental when I was using it. Now they decided to completely kill it. in an update. It has a red
I don't
X
think that was
next to it,
Caden
and
Live.
it says not supported.
Yeah,
I don't think
I
that's
had the
Caden Live.
same issue with the NVIDIA driver update. Also, like all NVIDIA power control immediately broke for suspension and hibernation, stuff like that. It just,
I don't think that
same
was
with
either
Caden Live.
Caden Live or NVIDIA fault. That was fault of Melt, which is
So
what.
no,
Well,
in
that's,
OBS,
Caden Live's-
NVENC encoder still works.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's fault of Melt, which is, I believe it's called Melt or MLD.
MLT, yeah.
That's the backend system Caden Live uses for rendering.
And that's what it's handling, all the compositing
Yeah.
effects and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well now
Which
I
is
have to
which-
wait.
Anything is-
Which is why half the time when they update, the compositing effects that you were using in a previous version no longer work, even though there's still an option in the menus. But when you go and put them in the video, they don't really work.
Yeah, and DT, have you ever had the issue where you had transition effects in a video, and you go to render out the video, and
They're
the
not there?
resulting video, all the transition effects are gone?
That's what I was talking about. Yeah, it's exactly that. It's
There is a reason I don't use Caden Live.
Well, I don't have any other option because I don't know of another good video editor other than DaVinci Resolve, which I don't want to mess with. It's too big.
I believe there is one that is even better. Let me see.
Well, what I did is
Caden Live is going backwards.
I edited 3 videos after I made that Caden Live rant video. I edited my next 3 videos in Blender because Caden Live was broken. That was before I figured out what the problem was. And Blender is actually really nice to edit a video in. The only problem is it's slower to render the video than Caden Live. It's about twice as long to render, which if
And it doesn't have
Well,
all the features that Caden Live does.
no, it doesn't. But it has the basic stuff that I typically use anyway. It's
Does
really
Blender
not,
have
Blender does too many things.
yeah, but yeah, that's the other thing. It's a
Well-
big program, and it was really designed for.
It's trying to be a Swiss Army knife, or the way DT likes to put it, it's trying to be everything to everyone.
It's trying to be the Emacs of multimedia programs, is what Blender is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it has been built with a heavy focus on 3D and animation.
Yeah, so you
stuff.
can't expect it to do perfect in editing.
I do like for just quick and dirty cropping and snapping of videos. Lossless Cut has done a pretty fair job for me, which is a really simple FFmpeg snap frame cutting application that does it simple with a simple GUI. So if you just needed to do it quick and dirty like me for some instruction video, I have to send to a client that has been doing a pretty good job, though it won't require.
Now, I typically
or-
typically stick to free and open source software, but I know a lot of people don't care. You guys don't mind using proprietary software, and if that's the case, we do have 2 really professional solutions on Linux. DaVinci Resolve is the one a lot of people have moved to these days, and Lightworks also has a Linux version that works.
Yeah,
Shortcut comes
Shortcut.
kind of
yes.
recommended.
Yeah, Shotcut.
Yeah, Shortcut
Even
is,
though I,
software is not bad.
no matter what is, there is only one good video editor, if you ask me.
No,
Adobe
but
Premiere
I
Pro.
just had a really weird thought in my head, and that's gonna make DT laugh his ass off. On Windows, I used to use something called back
Windows-
then it was
Windows Movie Maker.
Movie Maker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
no, not Movie Maker.
We've all used that one.
the best one.
Time.
That was the best one.
No, but it's called Acid Video
Ah,
something. It's by Magix.
I remember that one.
Uh,
I remember that one.
Yeah.
Huh.
Since
don't
you got
remember the
Wine on
program.
Linux, I was thinking maybe try that using Wine. Why not?
Before I moved to Linux, I used to use Pinnacle. It's a really big, like a really
Pinnacle,
professional
Avid Pinnacle, Avid.
Pinnacle. I never knew how to.
I mean, if I really wanted to, I mean, I could run a Windows VM just to run one of the Windows video editors, but it would still suffer the problem of it'd take a long time to render because the VM would not be able to use all of my
Hardware.
CPU cores.
Yeah,
And you
hardware.
need all of your
I
CPU
just boot
cores to
into
render.
Windows.
Huh?
I have a dual boot of Windows and I just put into Windows and use
Yeah.
proper software
So-
for that
Yeah.
job.
Yeah, you really can't
Did
use
he-
a VM for video editor. It's you're gonna suffer the problem of performance because you need all of your RAM, you need all of your
Yeah.
CPU. Yeah.
Like,
Since we're on video editors, during last summer, I had a chance to do video editing on 3 machines at once. So I installed on one I had Premiere Pro, on one I had Resolve, and on third one I had Kdenlive. But at the same time, I was editing same video. I will say that no matter what you do, no what you do, sorry, but Kdenlive doesn't hold a candle to Resolve and Premiere Pro. And even then, Premiere Pro is just better than Resolve.
well, Resolve is pretty good, but the thing of being pro NVIDIA, no longer pro AMD, whereas before it used to be pro AMD, and all this fight for proprietary hardware, it's like it makes it makes me not recommend it because of all this battle. Now being pro NVIDIA, it works better on NVIDIA than it works on AMD, and with NVIDIA being in the status that it is in on Linux,
I think we're
not
gonna
an easy recommendation.
I think we're gonna see some change. I think the move toward open sourcing some of the NVIDIA stuff, I think, is going to help eventually.
Well,
not anytime real soon, but eventually with
Yeah.
some of the video editing problems, I think, like the NVENC. I know that the NVENC is not going to be open source right now, but I think eventually they'll open source everything because AMD and Intel are open sourcing everything.
Yeah.
Eventually, NVIDIA is just going to open
Maybe-
source the whole
maybe
thing.
my
I'm gonna
grandchildren will
tell you
benefit.
right now. I think that's the extent of open sourcing they will do for quite a while now.
I hope not.
Because
I hope not.
reality is they might open source CUDA, or at least open source certain parts of CUDA.
Well,
Yeah.
what would it hurt? I mean, what do they really think AMD or Intel is going to like steal their code? Like they've got some kind of magic.
No, why would they?
No.
Simple
Right.
reason. Why
That
would
is
they?
a problem. This is a problem. Like not open sourcing or not offering support for other operating systems is a really big problem with almost every single big corporation.
Yeah.
Like
And-
another. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, I was just gonna
Yeah.
say it's especially a problem for guys like me who have gaming laptops, especially AMD ones, where they have this weird, funky hardware with an AMD inbuilt graphics and then the NVIDIA
Ah.
discrete graphics. And the case in mind, per se, is that you have this BIOS setting where you can turn off the NVIDIA, but then or turn off the AMD graphics, but then it'll only default to the NVIDIA, and it's just kind of a pain in the butt.
I think everybody has a problem if you have like the built-in Radeon drivers and then you add a NVIDIA card. It's like the
Yeah.
computer seems to freak out. It's like, what in the hell video driver do you really want to use? Well, I want to use the
Yeah,
I want to use the $800 NVIDIA
that
GPU
part
I
is-
just bought. Can I use that one?
You can
Yeah,
try
exactly, man. And I tell you, the sad part is with the BIOS settings for this card inside this machine is either just the NVIDIA or both at the same time, nothing else, and it totally sucks.
Yeah, just like Max says, you can try Optimus.
Optimus Manager. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
for
well, I don't know how to set, because in Optimus Manager, the only problem is that I don't think it only allows between Intel, NVIDIA, or hybrid. I don't think
No,
they
No,
have
it's-
it.
it has
you-
it has
It has
also.
AMD.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, if
Okay. Well, I might.
went to settings and the AMD is right here.
Yeah, I do have Optimus Manager in StormOS, but I didn't install it. And I wasn't aware that at the time that NVIDIA and AMD was an option inside of that applet, so I might install it and see if it works.
I am also on the laptop, and
Yeah,
it's Intel and NVIDIA, but
yeah. So it does have an
it's
AMD and
usually-
NVIDIA option inside of it. Okay. Well, I will definitely give that a shot then.
I know Steam Deck and Steam is changing the whole format of graphics drivers and stuff for Linux since Proton
really.
is embedded in everything. So
Yeah.
I think that's why Nvidia's making their move, is because
No,
they don't
no,
want you to
no,
fall
no.
close.
No, no, no.
I
No,
think
No,
it's
let's
no.
be clear. Let's be clear. I'm gonna say this really, and I want all of you to listen this really carefully.
Okay, big five.
This open sourcing was being planned for years now.
Yeah.
Nothing AMD did in the last year or two. Nothing Steam didn't matter. This was going to happen. First of all, second of all, this isn't for us normal computers. This is for system administrators at companies who use their Tesla cards, their Quadro cards, the corporate laptops and corporate workstations,
I think it was
not for normal
publicity.
desktop users. Forget
But
So
but
this
forget
has
that.
nothing to do with gaming or anything like that.
Nothing to do with
SteamOS
gaming.
and SteamOS and Steam Deck did have an impact on a bunch
No.
of software companies
Yes.
making
sure.
changes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
but that was
Yeah.
nothing to do with Nvidia.
I mean,
Nvidia, not Nvidia.
Yeah.
Forget
I mean,
Not at
even
all.
thinking about it.
everything that Steam does, everything that Valve does, has an impact on the entire gaming industry. Like everybody,
Yeah,
right.
everybody
It's just
basically,
so-
right?
Right. But gaming is like the lowest tier end of something to do with Nvidia.
Well, I don't know if it's the lowest tier, but I would.
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
Nvidia
I
is
would have
pretty
to-
big.
I would have to
in
take
gaming.
Big Pod's word on that
Yeah, I don't-
because I mean, you know, AMD is more likely to care about that than Nvidia probably would.
Yeah.
I mean,
Still, it's a
Nvidia
growing
is
market.
huge in many applications apart from gaming, but it's still
It's still
gaming
a
is still a big
competitor
part
in
of
it.
AMD
Nvidia,
and
so
Nvidia,
No.
it still has an influence.
AMD and Nvidia
Maybe
target
5
different
years
kinds
ago.
of users.
Not today.
Maybe 5 years ago, yeah.
Let's just
Not
be
now.
clear. Let's just be clear. Do you know how many top end gaming GPUs they have to sell to be equal to just one A100, their top end AI card?
I think it was
Probably a
4 or
crap
5.
ton.
About 20 to be at the
dang.
low end
Wait,
of the
Wow.
Not
numbers.
good. Yeah.
How's that thing at crypto mining?
No,
amazing.
Yeah.
It's
it's
amazing.
not
think
worth
that's-
the money. Let's
That's
remember
what
that
Intel's going to turn
A100
into.
is 32.
Most
32,000.
really big crypto miners that influence the industry don't use a graphics card. They just buy a server that's built
I
especially
tell you
for,
what,
for mining.
now that
Yeah,
the prices,
depending on what.
now that the
Mm.
prices of GPUs have gone up and the price of crypto has crashed, anybody that put their life savings into buying Nvidia cards just to mine Bitcoin, well, that was the wrong move, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Because now all the graphics card prices are going to go. bloop.
You're
Yeah,
gonna
they're
see the
starting
market.
to
You're gonna see
already.
the market flooded with used cards soon. Yes.
We are already
Oh
seeing it.
yeah.
Can't
We
wait for
already
that.
do.
We are already seeing it.
Yeah.
Like
And,
if you check on eBay, there are thousands of.
Yeah, especially here around in Europe, since like energy or power prices just increased due to recent
Oil
events.
prices are through the
I
roof
have
right
a
now.
friend
Yeah.
who bought a couple graphics card like two 3090s just for mining, and he's selling one of them and keeping one
Oh,
for
God.
gaming. But
I'll buy it for $100.
Me also.
nah.
I don't think
Well, that's
they'll
the
get
other
that
thing.
cheap.
These cards that people are selling on eBay. How hard were these cards run, and for how long?
Oh yeah.
You know, you think
100%.
about
That
how.
that won't
true,
matter
Derek,
because
yeah.
normally they undervolt them
Yeah.
because you get
Yeah.
lower better performance at lower cooling.
Yeah, but stacked side by side, the heat had to be unbearable.
Well, I would hope somebody would put some kind of cooling system. Like if they had a rig with, you would have to, if you had a stack
maybe
of.
you will need to replace fan in 2 years. Otherwise, the GPU is okay. But just fun fact:
Mhm.
if you are if you're looking for how NVIDIA sells their GPUs, HGX A100, which is their like complete system with eight A100 Tesla cards, which are the top end card with, I believe, 80 gigabyte RAM buffer each. such system costs $200,000 minimum,
Oh,
and that's
that all?
published price. And you probably normally would go a bit higher to probably double that for a single one. And let's just say when you buy such a system, you normally don't buy just one.
What? Did they do a payment plan on that, or how does that work?
Yeah.
Cash.
Is the price going to drop
Essentially,
now that GPU
it's what
prices are
companies
dropping?
buy.
Can I pay a monthly?
companies
It's
buy.
Probably
companies and,
companies
and
only.
research probably.
Put it on eBay.
Researchers, AI companies, Microsoft buys probably like a truckload of them.
Yeah, well, we had one
Same
guy
with
in the
Just
news
use
that
the-
installed a crypto miner who was a system administrator, installed a malware on one of these 200,000 top tier AI computers at Technical University in Graz. The thing is, nobody actually took care of it, and until it completely blowed up, and they figured out that this guy was just basically mining cryptos unnoticed for 3 months. As a system administrator using this supercomputer, whereas all research jobs got delayed to uncommon hacking attacks and stuff like that. It's been pretty
had a problem
interesting
like
and
this.
funny.
We had a problem like this 3 years ago at my school. We had some guy was mining Bitcoin on school PCs, which I don't know how he even managed to do that. I mean, those PCs can barely run Doom. It's.
Oh, you can
But
you
yeah.
can mine. It was just gonna take forever. You're not gonna accomplish much.
Yeah, but he put like crypto miners on 30 PCs in 2 different classrooms.
Oh, that
that will
easy.
make some money.
Well, guys, we're
know.
coming up on the end of the 2 hours here. So since we've got a lot of people here, let's get a last word from everybody. Everybody take a minute or so.
Derek, before we get into that, I have a question for you real quick.
Make it your last word, Ben, because I'm on a time
I'll
crunch
go
here today.
first then.
All right.
Well, I would love it if you could do an updated look at StormOS for me.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I make no promises.
Ever since you last did it, we've added a lot of fixes to the UI and etc. And Ncurse's installer now alongside Calamares and MyUzi as one of the apps. So I would love it if you could look into that.
Yeah, I will definitely add it to my to-do list. I don't know when I'll get around to it because I typically do things on whatever's on my mind that day or whatever I happen to be.
Okay.
I don't.
Well, I will. Well, it's the same URL that you downloaded it from before.
But I'm sure I'll get to it again. So.
All right, no worries.
All right. Appreciate that, Ben. Let's get a last word from Big Pod.
Well, I don't know what to say.
You've used up all your last words?
Have a nice month.
All right, Big Pod. Appreciate that.
Wow.
That's the shortest last word from Big Pod ever. Dark Zero, give us the last word.
Help Linux get better. Don't hate on it.
There
Be
you
happy. If you use Linux, be happy and help it grow. That's it.
That's all we got to do.
Nice. All right, Hip Dad, give us the last word.
If I want to live, I need to breathe.
Yeah. There you go.
Amazing.
Wise words. All right. Stefan, I know you've got something for us.
Do I? After all these wise words, it's hard to top. So I just have to say thanks for the talk, and especially to you, DT, for your continuous work on educating the community. And
Appreciate that.
Yeah. What else to say? Maybe if you can, try donating some cash to your favorite software developers. Times are tough now.
Yeah.
For a lot of people. So if you can,
and on
take
that
a look
note, I
what
will
you
say,
used.
I just to briefly interrupt, because
Yes.
it's kind of the mid-year point. A lot of times we wait till the end of the year to donate to our favorite projects, because around Christmas, New Year's, they'll start pushing, hey, donate to KDE, donate to GNOME, yada, yada, yada. Mid-year, I know nobody's thinking about that, but yeah, give a few bucks
Exactly.
to some of the software you use. Continue on, Stefan.
Yeah, that's actually it. And yeah, let's try to be fair, square, metric, and skeptic, and
All right.
take care,
And
each and
I have
everyone.
one more thing I want to say, Derek.
All right, Ben.
Next month's chat, at the end of the month, I will be 31 years old.
Nice. You're getting old, Ben.
Yeah, feels like
Yeah,
it.
you're not a kid anymore.
Half of
Heavens
me.
no.
I'm approaching the 30s as well. Don't
Oh
worry.
gosh.
Oh, well, it's been a long time since I saw the 30s.
That's
Same
so
here,
bad.
DT. Same here.
All right.
Nerve-wracking.
Sabu, give us the last word.
Yeah. Can I swear, or is this a family-friendly stream?
I'll let you swear this
Words
one
are
time.
Okay.
Okay, only one. Nvidia, fuck you.
Oh.
In the spirit
We
of
had to go
lit-
there.
Oh.
I had to say it. I had to say it.
It's
Those are my
okay.
last words.
That one was funny.
At least you made it count. Yeah. I was afraid you were going to waste the one swear on something that.
No.
But that was good.
That one was funny. Brings me back to Linus Torvalds.
All right. Max. I don't know if Max is there.
One of us.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Give us a last word. Send us on out.
You have pretty good freestyling skills.
I'm sorry. What was that? I didn't hear that.
You have really good freestyling skills. If you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, I got you.
All right.
OG.
And people have asked for more freestyle rap.
All right.
But one day, I've got some ideas. I've actually written a few kind of rhymes down. Just one day, maybe get back into it. But I don't know. All right. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me.
Thanks.
And of course, I need to thank the folks in the YouTube chat as well. I know we had a lot of good chat in there. I know sometimes I have to ignore the YouTube chat because I'm paying attention to what you guys are saying, but I do thank you guys for hanging out in the YouTube chat. And I want to thank the patrons that could not be on screen with us. So I'm going to show some names on the screen here.
Yeah.
These are all of my patrons. I want to thank each and every one of those ladies and gentlemen as well. And other than that, would you guys be so kind to wave bye to the YouTubes?
Later, guys.
Bye.
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 Python. It's better
All right.
than C.